morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here all by my lonesome. Eitan is traveling this week, and as you can hear, I'm a little bit under the weather, but this is such an important week that I couldn't bear not to have this time with you guys and hopefully transform the way we're all going to navigate our week this week to truly have lasting impact and elevating consequences. This is the week we are talking about how to decode the laws of the universe. And it's the one week of the year that the Creator, in his infinite wisdom, and the entire universe conspires to highlight why we're here. Each individual person has a increased ability to tune into the purpose for which they were introduced to this lifetime and to navigate back to the path that brought them here. And every year when this happens, I hear from people, they have dreams about what seems to be past lifetimes. They have revelations, incidences, epiphanies. And the more we know, the better odds are that we're going to capture those messages and those realizations and not dismiss them for the valuable insight that they are. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast in which we provide our listeners with the most powerful and practical tools to navigate the coming 7 days. We do that through studying and teaching the wisdom of Kabbalah, and every week ends up offering our listeners tools and wisdom that can not only help you take advantage of the current week, but also every opportunity, any week of the year, any year of your life. And to help break down the opportunity of this week, I've decided the most efficient way to share this wisdom this week, considering it's a conversation with myself, is to share with you 3 of the laws of the universe that Kabbalah teaches inform every waking moment of our lives. And in sharing those 3 laws and how they affect us, hopefully our awareness will be heightened, our experience will be elevated, and will really create dramatic and impactful change for ourselves individually, which in turn results in change for the world. So we're sitting now in the 3rd week of the month of Shvat, the month of Aquarius, and the biblical portion that influences us this week is called Mishpatim, which literally means laws. So it's not a coincidence. And it's also not a coincidence that we have this opportunity this week to perceive our experience from an elevated perspective. The first law I want to review with you is the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect is very similar to one of the laws of physics that I think we all learned when we were in high school, which is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. What does that mean outside of the laws of physics? It means that everything that I put out there, whether it's positive, negative, and we learn from these laws that there is nothing that's neutral, whether it's positive or negative, has to not only come back to me, which I think is something that we've all kind of accepted, but needs to be balanced. So what that means is that if I put out something positive, if I'm kind, if I manage to take the high road in a situation, if I go outside of my comfort zone for someone else, if I manage to resist my need for instant gratification or validation or vindication, so that's going to boomerang out into the universe. And the implication of the word boomerang is that it's going to come back to me. At the same time, we understand that those laws of cause and effect transcend lifetimes. And because it transcends lifetimes. It's also important to remember that we souls are eternal and our bodies are temporary. Our bodies are the vehicle that allow us to do this work of revealing the light of our soul in every lifetime. So if 5 lifetimes ago, I acted out of selfishness, control, revenge, desperation, and I did something, I created a deficit. That deficit is going to have to be balanced. I often share with my kids, right? If your sibling hits you, don't hit back, because the universe hits harder and better than we ever could. And in a very, yes, it's a juvenile example, but it really is an illustration for the bigger picture. If I hit you, again, exchange the word hit for any other action, the universe, that's not between me and you, first and foremost. So I think other interpretations of karma might say, well, I have to come back until you hit me. I shouldn't say once in a while. There are certain situations in which that is true, that the balancing needs to be done between individuals, but more often than not, the balancing is between me and the universe. So if I hit in my relationship, that smack back from the universe is not necessarily going to come in my relationship. And looking at the laws of cause and effect is important, because the law of cause and effect also implies that everything in my life happens for a reason, which again, we accept on the mundane. I'm sitting in traffic for a reason. My toast is burnt for a reason. I didn't get the promotion for a reason. But when very dramatic events take place, it's very hard to accept that this is in my life for a reason. Now, when you take into account reincarnation, you understand that it's not about keeping score in this lifetime. I'm a good person, I don't deserve this, but rather everything that comes to me is actually coming to elevate me. If I, in a previous lifetime, or even in this lifetime, before I was aware of the spiritual laws, if I created some sort of energetic deficit, if I was a taker, if I was hurtful, anything that I could have done, it is for my benefit that I do not continue to live my life operating at that deficit. So however the universe sees is the right way for me to balance that deficit out, that's what's going to attract the situations and the circumstances to help me balance it. The reason that things happen is never for me to feel like a victim, for me to feel helpless or hopeless. It is for me to learn a lesson, to grow, to elevate, to heal, to transform. And that cannot be said enough. Now, that lends the conversation to the second rule, the second law of the universe. The second law of the universe that I want to share with you today is the law of free will. The law of free will dictates basically that the only way I can truly transform this lifetime, my experience, my own trajectory, let's call it, is when I exercise my free will. What does that mean? This morning, when you woke up, you made your coffee, you sat in your favorite chair, you picked out what you were going to wear today, you checked your email to see what you have to do today, all those things. On one hand, you may perceive them as, okay, I could have laid in bed all day. I could have hit snooze again. Those are all true statements. But most of the way that we go about our lives is autopilot, robotic, automatic, even if, let's say, you decide, okay, I'm not having coffee at home today. I'm going to grab a latte on the way to the office. Or I normally work at home. I'm going to go into the office today. Most of the things that we perceive in our life that are decisions are actually byproducts of moments in our lives where we exercised free will. According to Kabbalah, exercising free will isn't, I normally go for chocolate ice cream today, I'm going to have vanilla. That's not exercising free will. Exercising free will is, my natural tendency is X, and I'm choosing to transcend my natural default reaction. The only time we truly change our movie, the story of our lives, is when we transcend our nature. And so when we experience a reality, like I alluded to earlier, right, the laws of cause and effect dictate that I need a particular circumstance that, for lack of a better adjective, sucks. I have a choice there. I can roll around in how much it sucks. I can roll around in how terrible it is, or how other people have it better, or why me, or I wasn't prepared for this, or I don't deserve this, or other people have it so much better than me. If I can transcend that natural normal programming, and by the way, your natural normal programming might not be pity party. Whatever your natural, maybe it's to blame your childhood. Maybe it's to blame the government. Maybe it's to blame your neighbors. It doesn't matter what your natural tendency is. And your natural tendency may not be blame at all. It just happens to be easier to poke fun at those. Only when you transcend your normal, let's call it default programming, do you change the course of your life. And I think we know it, but I think that it's important to highlight that this week, because if you can be clear about the limiting behaviors, the limiting beliefs, the limiting routines that you have in your life and break free of them, you will start to experience an even better reality. Now, I happen to have spent the last week in bed, and a lot of that time being able to do nothing obviously sheds great light on the things you normally do that you don't even think about doing, that are so automated that you can't do in that moment when you're not able to get out of bed. And I was thinking about how I wish I could have had those revelations without having to be sick. But sometimes the universe says, and then maybe that's a great example, and that's why it had to happen. Sometimes you need to be knocked off your behind, or knocked onto your behind, as it were, to recognize the opportunities for change, transformation, and growth. Now, sometimes getting knocked off or knocked onto your behind, I mean, getting the flu is a relatively gentle version of getting knocked, but those opportunities to reassess, these behaviors don't serve me. I am making myself and everyone around me miserable when I do X, Y, and Z. What can I do to shift the energy or the environment at work, in my home, in my physical well-being? Only making those transcendent shifts will lead to a change in your environment. So the two laws are inextricable, right? On one hand, here comes Weekly Energy Boost and says, you are bound by the laws of cause and effect. Then it comes and says, teachings of Kabbalah come and say, no, if you do not like what's going on, and maybe this is the best way to say it, your movie, the movie of your life, is playing based upon who you are. If you do not like your movie, change who you are. And that leads us to the third and final law we're going to talk about today. Obviously, it's not final, but it's a great way to understand. Great, Elisheva, I heard you. I want to change my reality. I don't know how to do it. Here comes the third law. This is the law of similarity of form. Now, this goes back to creation. According to Kabbalah, the creation story that maybe we're familiar with in the Bible, or even the scientific creation story, which we often call the Big Bang. Those two are, first of all, very much related, but also have the same cause. The same moment brought those two stories into motion. And that is what we call the thought of creation. Very briefly, the thought of creation is that, yes, before the Big Bang, there was nothing but pure light as far as the mind can fathom. And because there was no physicality yet, which again is both accurate in the biblical story of creation as well as the scientific story of creation, nothing existed. There was only the light of the Creator And because the nature of the light of the Creator is giving and sharing, that necessitated the creation of a vessel. Don't imagine that anything physical was created. It simply meant that there had to be an energetic force of receiving in order for the goodness of the light of the Creator to be received, to be experienced. According to Kabbalah, that vessel, that container that was created, encompassed all the souls of humanity. So all of the souls of humanity were completely fulfilled by the light of the Creator. We don't know how long because time didn't exist then. That was the state of reality until the vessel woke up and said, if we do not have the opportunity to ourselves be the light, we will never be fulfilled. And that realization, that revelation, which also included a rejection, we said to the light of the Creator, we don't want to receive passively anymore. We only want to receive the light of the Creator if we are creating the opportunity to receive that. And that's where the law of similarity of form comes in. The way that we draw the light of the Creator into our lives is when we act like the light of the Creator. Like attracts like, therefore light attracts light. What are the qualities of the light of the Creator? I mean, if you can imagine the light of the Creator shining through a prism, which is each individual soul, and all of the colors of the spectrum are actually the colors of fulfillment. Everything good, kind, creative, initiative. That's why every time we exercise free will, we are initiating. We're not the effect, we're the cause. That's how we turn on the light in our life. That's how we shift our trajectory. And it's so much easier to side with the part of us that is the vessel, that wants to receive, that wants to be fulfilled, that wants to take, that wants to grab, that wants to be right, that wants to feel justified, vindicated, wants the recognition and the validation. That part of ourselves is actually the part of ourselves that needs to be transcended in order for us to experience that fulfillment. So when in doubt, ask yourself, what's the light-like thing to do in this situation? How can I turn on the light in the room right now? It's not always going to be the comfortable answer. It's not always going to be the familiar answer. It's not always going to be the easy answer. Actually, more often than not, it's unknown, it's uncomfortable, and it's not the easy one. It's not the easy answer. However, if you are a person who is interested in fulfilling the reason for which they came to the physical reality, not only in this lifetime, but for the purpose for which their soul, at some point, the Creator looked at the universe and said, the world needs this light now. Bob's light, Susie's light, Elishaba's light, whatever your name is. That light is a light that only you can reveal. And this is the week that the universe is saying, you want some clues as to what you're supposed to be doing here? Look, listen, pay attention. Your dreams are going to be more meaningful. Your epiphanies, pay attention to what you read, what you listen to. There are clues there. If you're taking classes, studying, pay extra attention this week. There's going to be golden nuggets there. And I wanted to actually share with you, we got a letter from a listener, and I was going to answer it when I started to feel better. And then I said, you know what, this is perfect for this week's episode. And I'm going to just, it's quite a long email, but I'm going to read just one brief section of it, the question, which I think will pull together everything we talked about this week, what the work is this week, and then I'll leave you with a little bit of a meditation from Karen Berg. I have been feeling a lot of pain seeing the suffering of human beings, animals, and even plants, and I would really like to do something to help. I would like to know if it's possible for me to absorb the karma of all humanity and animals, please. If it's not possible for all humanity and animals, can at least be for my children, siblings, and family. So, Kabbalistically speaking, the answer is no, it is not possible. And even though it may seem that there have been others through history who have died for our sins, quote unquote, as she references in another section in her email. Kabbalistically, that's not possible, and Kabbalistically, that's not how it works. Each one of us has a fragment of that original vessel, and each one of us in that place called the endless world, where the creator's thought was only to benefit the creations, it was us, the creations, who said, unless we'll be the creator, we won't be fulfilled. Therefore, our experience of pain and suffering in the physical reality, as we see it so prevalent today, is part of the healing process. I'll call it the catch. The catch is the only piece that you can heal is your own. You can inspire others to heal themselves. You can meditate and pray for others to heal themselves, but you can only do the work of your soul. Now, if you understand that what brought all of us to the physical reality is the desire to be the creator, taking that ability away from your friends, from your family, from your siblings, from your children, from plants, from animals, actually works against the purpose of creation. Each shard of that original vessel craves at its essence to be the creator. Taking away their pain, taking away their free will, taking away the influence of the laws of cause and effect on those sparks is actually preventing an end to pain and suffering in the world. Each one of us has our own spark to reveal. And in that sense, preventing someone else, and I relate to this question. I know that especially for those of us who are parents, we want to shield our kids from the pain in the world, from the negativity, from the darkness. But we have to remember that even our children are not ours. They're also shards of that original vessel that have come here to reveal their unique light, their unique piece of the puzzle, for which no one else can do their work but them. So I really encourage not only the person who wrote in, but everyone to think about how much I am internally focused on revealing my unique spark. How distracted am I by everything else that's going on in the world? And how can I use this week to refocus my work of revealing my own spark? I gave you 3 great ways to do that. And I also want to wrap up this week's episode by sharing with you a meditation from my teacher, Karen Berg. I don't know, I think it was shared originally in 2019, but it really does pull everything that we talked about together so beautifully. And I think if we all take advantage of what this week has to offer, we will find ourselves a part, not simply watching dramatic shifts as they take place around us, but literally being a part of those dramatic shifts. And P.S., one of the greatest side effects of revealing your unique light, healing, transforming, elevating yourself, is greater joy and fulfillment and peace for you. There's nothing on the planet more fulfilling than manifesting your purpose. So Karen Berg writes, this week in your meditations, be open to traveling back to the past. Be willing to understand a little bit better of where you came from, so you may know where to move forward. Recall the times of childhood. What did you enjoy doing? What were your dreams? What did you love to play? Our closest connection to our past life can be felt as children. Our inner child holds access to the window to our past, and it can give us the details we need. Be open to understanding that who you are today is a culmination of all you have been. You stand on the shoulders of your previous lives, and you are the summation of all you have learned and experienced. So be kind to yourself. The challenges you face today are a part of a long story that is still playing, a long story spanning many lives and thousands of years. You are not quite yet the beautiful finished work of art. You are a beautiful vessel, but still in the making. Allow life to shape you. Embrace it. Each day, walk in this world knowing that every encounter and every experience you have holds a greater meaning, designed to create the most beautiful of souls. Be patient with your process. Allow yourself to learn and to grow. Allow the wheels of your soul to continue to spin. Your story is a long and mighty epic, and it is far from over. Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also visit our website, weeklyenergyboost.com, where you can find our archives, the things we think are important for our listeners to know about, as well as a donate button so that you can support our podcast. But most importantly, like, rate, and review wherever you listen, and share this episode. The more enlightened people walking the planet, the more enlightened the planet is going to be. Thanks for being with me this morning. Have a fabulous week, and we'll see you next time on the Weekly Energy Boost.